In order for peer learning to actually happen, you kind of need to start off with the environment that you've set up for yourself. So whether that's you're leading a team, whether you're going into an organization as a consultant, you want to make sure that the environment that you're working with is already one where people feel comfortable communicating, people feel comfortable collaborating, that's something that people feel comfortable with. Because a lot of us, especially with some of our earlier experiences with group work, there's often a large percentage of people when they've been asked to work in groups where people react negatively to that. And I've definitely had that experience teaching earlier in my career at the University of Washington, where gave people the choice of you can work in groups or you can work your own self-paced. 75% of the people at that time chose to work self-paced. So this whole idea of creating a collaborative environment where people feel comfortable communicating and learning from each other is key. If you don't have that, then that ends up being a huge pitfall of peer learning. Second thing you want to do before you really jump into just, we're going to do this peer learning thing, is setting clear goals. And that's from a couple of different perspectives. There is the goal of what you want to do as groups learning together. So the guidelines for your group work or your agreements of how you're going to work together. That's one part of setting clear goals. Another part is the objectives for the project itself. So if you're within a team and you decided that you're going to do peer learning on Fridays, what does that look like? What is the objectives? What do you want to accomplish with the program overall? But then also, as you get into the weeds of it, with each individual session. And then because you are peer learning, it's about establishing personal learning objectives for yourself as well. So what is the learning that you as the peer who's maybe doing the instructing, what do you hope to get out of it? And then what do you hope your learners to get out of it? And then also asking for the peers in question to contribute their objectives so that you're co-creating the experience together. So this is very much gets back to this whole idea of, we are facilitating together, we are co-creating together, as opposed to the sage on the stage kind of model where I am the all-knowing Oz and I'm going to impart everything upon you. So the co-creation process does involve having people, what do you want to get out of this experience, and getting that clear. The other piece that I think is really important, especially when you're working with people who aren't learning experts, is to remember to remind them to create opportunities for feedback, whether that's feedback on how they're presenting or how they're doing, but also just opportunities for the learners to demonstrate their learning through doing, right? So these opportunities for feedback tell you how well you're actually accomplishing the objectives that you set out to accomplish, right? So if you just put together objectives and then you never check against them, how do you know you've accomplished those objectives? So, and again, for those of you who are learning professionals, preaching to the choir on that. And then the last one, of course, is including a variety of activities. So people who are new to doing instruction, to doing peer learning or teaching, don't necessarily come in with the same background as us. And so they just figure we lecture. That's what we do. That's what teaching is. Teaching is telling. And no, teaching is not telling, right? So introducing the notion of how does brainstorming factor into a learning experience? How is problem-based learning factor into a learning experience? How do we encourage opportunities for self-assessment? How do we encourage opportunities for reflection? And just getting that kind of knowledge into the mix before you dive deeply into your peer learning programs.